All right, this is our last podcast for this chapter on macromolecules. So this is on section 2, nucleic acids. I put intro only because we have a whole unit dedicated to this in second semester. All right, so our last macromolecule is nucleic acid. It is a huge, complex organic molecule, which means it contains carbon and hydrogen. And this one stores hereditary information and transports that information so it can be used by the cell, which is our next unit. On nucleic acid, there's two of them. They are DNA and RNA. So DNA is, you need to know what it stands for. It's deoxyribonucleic acid. It's named for its sugar. We'll get into the structure in a minute. That determines the characteristics of an organism, like your traits, and it directs the cell activities. And then RNA is the other one. It's ribonucleic acid. So the only difference in the name is this deoxy. And when we get into the unit later, you'll see the difference with that deoxy part. But the RNA function is to store and transfer that information from DNA in order to make a protein. So it's very complex. We'll get into that at a later date. The monomer, the building block of a nucleic acid, is called a nucleotide. And that's what all you're going to be learning about right now. And eventually we'll get more into detail on that DNA. So we need to learn what a nucleotide is. All right, so a nucleotide has 3 parts. And you got them all pictured here so you can see what they look like. The first part is a phosphate group. In section 1 of this chapter, we learned the functional groups, and one of them what we learned was a phosphate group. It is a phosphorus atom bonded to 4 different oxygens. 2 of those are hydroxyl groups, and 1 is a double bond, and then there's an O, and then there's going to be obviously something that phosphate group is attached to. All right, that's a phosphate group. The phosphate is actually going to be attached to the sugar, which is the second part of a nucleotide. Deoxyribose or ribose, those are the 2 sugars in a nucleic acid or in a nucleotide with only those 2 choices. They are a 5-carbon sugar. This is a shorthand diagram of it. So these corners are the carbons, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one's off the ring. This one is deoxyribose. And then the third part of a nucleotide is a nitrogen base. And it's a ring shape. It can have 2 rings like this one, or it can only have 1 ring. But you can see, instead of them being all carbons and oxygens around in the ring like a sugar would be, it has nitrogens in there. Okay? And sometimes the nitrogen's off the ring as well. So these 3 parts are bonded together to form a nucleotide, and that's what DNA and RNA are made of. So you can see, we'll get into this big, huge structure of DNA. But if you just take one little piece, one monomer or nucleotide out of that DNA molecule, you'll see a phosphate group bonded to the sugar, and the sugar is bonded to the base. And so this is all you need to know for right now. The monomer of a nucleic acid is called a nucleotide, and it contains a phosphate group, a sugar, and a nitrogen base. And that finishes up our chapter.